On today's episode of the CLS Experience, we have a very exclusive treat. He's a WWE Hall of Famer and one of the most iconic and legendary professional wrestling superstars ever, bar none. His cerebral promos and dark charisma have never been matched, and he put the historic DDT finishing maneuver on the map. No big deal. He's the only wrestler to walk to the ring with a snake wrapped around his shoulders, more specifically, a python. He's experienced his share of adversity and has fought back in abundance of times out of dark seasons to inspire others that they can do the same. He's just a juggernaut in all facets of life and a larger-than-life wrestling legend. Please welcome the authentic, unbelievably talented, iconic, and mentally tough and battle-tested, dynamic Jake the Snake Roberts. How you doing, Jake?
Damn, I better take a break after all
I
that. Thank you very much, man.
did good by you with the intro.
Except you forgot the Cobra.
That's right.
Macho Man would be pissed off about that.
You're right. You're right. And you and I probably could have chatted for an hour before we hit record, but we want to save the juicy stuff for the show.
Oh, yeah.
I'm such a fan. This is such a treat. Like doing homework for this episode was honestly the easiest thing ever because number one, I know a lot of your story, but what I'm most excited about is to share your message with the community. And we're about 4 million now. For anyone that's not familiar with Jake, my suggestion, do a deep dive, check out his content, his Instagram, anything you can find of his wrestling matches, all that stuff. What I think most valuable is for today is we just have an unbelievable conversation. But before we dive in, Jake, we're going to get a little weird. You ready for me?
I'm ready, man.
Jake, what is your superpower? Told you we're going to get weird.
The thought of my mother.
Ooh, that's deep.
Very deep.
Yeah. Love that.
I mean, she was, sorry about that. She was a fighter. I mean, she was basically raped by my father. I'm trying to get this off of here. Die. Okay. She was 12 years old when my father came into a room and raped her. And instead of having an abortion or doing something horrible, she decided she was going to have me. And she did. So she was 13 and had a baby and a husband. Back in those days, you didn't go to jail. You just married the girl, and that was all that was done to you.
Yeah.
They should have cut the guy's nuts off and shoved him down a toilet.
Yeah.
Thanks, Dad.
Wow, we're getting deep right out the gate. And you know what? This is awesome because this is what's going to be so most impactful for the audience. And we'll sprinkle in a little wrestling stuff, of course. But I know because of that situation, you grew up and kind of went on with life with a little bit of a different relationship towards women. Is that right?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, my mother, she kept me. And then there was a sister involved and another brother. The brother at birth was given up to an aunt and uncle of mine. My mom was 17 years old. She had 3 kids, and my dad had just divorced her. So she was on tough times. Later on, of course, my father would remarry. And I tried to get close to him because, when you're living, I wound up living with my grandparents. And my grandfather was a really hardcore alcoholic, man. He drank a bottle of whiskey every day, and I'd come home from school, he'd be passed out in a chair. Sometimes he'd pissed on himself, defecated on himself, or just passed out. There was no which day he's going to be. It was every day. That's just what his life was. My grandmother, she did what she could do. My sister was staying with my mom at the time, but later on, after my mom remarried, we moved in with my mom. And, as a kid, you're wanting to be rescued, you know. And I always dreamed of my dad coming back and rescuing me and taking me off to this great show that he was involved in called wrestling. Because I knew he was a wrestler and he was a main eventer.
Was he?
Oh yeah, yeah, he was 7 foot tall, 405 pounds, man.
Wow.
He was a big dude. And so I went to stay with him, and not what I expected. Because right off the get go, the stepmother started molesting me, and every time my dad left the house, she had started little games. And she'd have me perform sex acts. I was 12 years old. And then afterwards, she'd beat my ass, which really screwed my head up, man. It's like, wait a minute, you're making me do these things, and then you beat me afterwards. I don't understand. And I took about a year of that before I got the hell out of there. And my sister was passed around. My dad got a hold of her. My father abused both of his daughters. One hell of a guy. But I went on to get into wrestling too. I never liked wrestling growing up. I thought that wrestling was what caused my father not to be around me, and I hated wrestling. But at the age of 18, I graduated from high school with honors. And I wanted my dad to say he was proud of me because he never came to a football game or a baseball game or a graduation. None of it. And so after I graduated, I went to see him where he was at. He was in Louisiana, Baton Rouge, Louisiana. I said, Dad, I graduated high school. I just thought you might want to know, duh.
Yeah.
And
Sure.
he's like, that's great. I'm like, yeah, I plan on going to college, I want to be an architect. That was my dream. I wanted to be an architect. Love drawing. And he's like, well, I hope you don't want any money from me because I don't have it to give to you. Like, you haven't given me anything my whole life. Why would I expect that? You
Right.
know?
Right.
And he would not say he was proud of me. But a few nights later, I went to a wrestling show that he was wrestling in. And with ignorance, youth, and alcohol combined, I came up with this grand idea of if you want your father to be proud of you, you need to go up there and challenge one of those wrestlers and get in the ring and beat his ass. Seemed like a great idea at the time. I was 18. I was in shape, man. I was ready to go.
Sure.
And the alcohol didn't hurt, So I picked this guy out that was like, he was probably close to 60. But there's something you got to know about old men. You don't get old being stupid, you know? You don't get old by being a pussy either. You get old because you're a rugged, tough old son of a bitch.
True.
And that guy, thank God he knew who I was because I got the whole crowd involved when I challenged him.
Of course you did.
And of course, he told me to come right on in. And for the next 15 minutes, he made me scream, cry, pee on myself, pass out a couple of times. Then he'd wake me up. And I made a mess of myself, man. And people were laughing their asses off. And I crawled back to the locker room. I couldn't walk because he had twisted me up so many different ways. And my father met me at the door and looked at me and he said, I'm ashamed of you. You're gutless and you'll never amount to anything. And that was it.
I didn't expect that. I thought that was going to turn him.
No, man. He just shit on me. And I remember today, I can still remember that night. And I remember making a deal with the devil. If the devil would help me to become the greatest wrestler of all time, I'd do anything. and I'll take whatever I got to take. I'll take steroids. I'll take pills. I'll take drugs. I'll take anything, whatever I've got to do. Just help me get there. And that's when it started. And off I went. Even with my father trying to squash the idea, he would call other promotions and tell them not to use me. So
Really?
it was hard for me to get a job. He did not help me at all. And
You ended up far exceeding his
oh yeah,
popularity in the wrestling
oh
world,
yeah,
respectfully.
absolutely, absolutely.
Everybody knows the name Jake the Snake, even if you're not a wrestling fan.
That's I believe that, man. I get it all the time.
Yeah. I wanted to ask you real quick, Jake. First of all, I want to acknowledge you. Thank you so much for being vulnerable and transparent. When you do things like that, you really help people that are listening that say, you know what?
Absolutely,
I went through some stuff and this helps me want to get better or see that Jake can do
sure,
it myself. And I've heard you say before, once you finally started really talking about your problems and life, that really helped you turn the corner to want to get better. Is that accurate?
absolutely, man. It makes you stronger, you
Mm,
know. And I tell everyone, listen, bring it to the light. Whatever problem you have, bring it to the light. If it's dark and you stuck it in a closet and you're hiding it, it's going to eat at you till it gets you. You can't hide shit. If you're hiding it, you got a problem. But you bring that problem to the light, man, and you talk about it, and you'd be surprised how much help you get with it and how much better you'll start to feel. Maybe not the first time, but the second time, the third time, the 100th time. I know that whenever I go out and I help someone that's hurting or someone that's in trouble with that addiction or whatever, if I'll just take 10, 15 minutes with them, I feel so much better about myself
absolutely.
because I know I'm a good person. And see, for my whole life, I thought I was a worthless person. I thought I had no value. I
Mm.
thought I was a piece of crap, man. And I thought it was my fault that I was molested. And, the thing with women, though, man, was because my mom had basically left me behind. And because the second woman in my life molested me, I had an edge for women. I didn't trust them. I thought they'd hurt me, and that caused me problems up until about 10 years ago, and finally I've gotten past that, where I had a real, I had the method down, man. I started getting close to somebody. And as soon as I started getting really close to them, I had to do something to sabotage that relationship because I wanted to hurt them before they hurt me.
Mm.
How insane is that? You know,
You know what? Based upon what you just explained and your upbringing, it makes sense.
man, I didn't want nobody close to me. I thought if you were close to me, you would hurt me.
Yeah,
So that was just one of the things I went through, man.
yeah. Isn't it crazy also, Jake? Like you had the highest of highs in terms of like fame, notoriety in the wrestling world, which is like a rock and
Yeah,
roll scene. And I've heard you say this, and it really hit home for me because it's relatable for me in a different capacity, of course, but similar. Back in the day where you maybe you got validation, like the pop of a crowd or drugs,
right.
is big. Now, the way that you seek validation is somebody listens to this episode and breathes a little bit different oxygen because
That's
you
it.
showed up, right? Or you help
Absolutely.
somebody overcome something. That's what it's all about.
Absolutely. Even back in the day when the noise was all there and people were cheering me on, I never believed I was good.
Really?
Never did believe it until now. Now, whenever I go to a Comic Con or go out to a wrestling show or go to a signing, for instance,
Hmm.
and I start hearing people tell me about the first time they seen me wrestle,
Yeah.
and they were sitting with their granddad, and they'll start talking about the time, then I'll see a tear in their eye, and I realize, well, granddad's gone,
Yeah.
but this is 25, 35 years ago, and this person still remembers me.
Of course.
And that is so amazing to me that I'm in so many people's hearts and
Beautiful.
minds that I've left my mark there.
Oh yeah,
Now I believe I was that good because I have the real proof,
that's right.
not just the noise and somebody saying, "Oh, you're great, man." No, no, I want to see it real. And
Yeah.
so, all you folks that come and see me, please tell me a story. I love that stuff, man.
This is so special and beautiful right out the gate. And look, let me be honest with you. Like, I'll never forget when I was a kid and I was growing up, I used to get the WWE or WWF at the time magazines.
Oh
And I
yeah,
remember a specific feud, you and the Macho Man, and he was
oh yeah,
tied up on the ropes, and you
yeah,
had the snake bite him, probably in, like, the bicep. I couldn't believe it. I was
yeah.
petrified of you.
That's what I wanted.
You were a scary dude.
Yeah, and the funniest thing about it is I'm terrified of snakes too.
Come on.
I am, man.
Really?
I am scared to death of them. But it's like magic. I'll be in the locker room and I'll be like, oh my God, that damn snake. And I'll be worried about it or whatever. And maybe I've put it in the shower and I'll go in there and I'll have to get it and put it in the bag. And man, I'm like really careful doing it too, man. And then I go to the ring and I get it out and I put it on the guy. Then I pick it up and hold it above my head. And I'm fine doing it in the ring. But as soon as I get through that curtain, man, I drop that son of a bitch on the floor. And I'm like, somebody else get that son of a bitch in the bag. Oh my God, I can't believe I did that. Oh
That's
yeah, I'm scared
great.
deathless. I'm
So
just,
how did the gimmick come to fruition, Vince?
well, alcohol, youth, and ignorance. I came up with an idea, you know. Vince is finally the one that let it happen. But I'd had the idea of me carrying the snake for some time. I've been called Jake the Snakes for 10, 12 years before
Oh,
that.
okay.
But he's the first one that would let me carry a snake. I tried to do it in Mid South, which was owned by a guy by the name of Bill Watts, that sorry son of a bitch. And I'm sorry, I just have to say that every time I say his name, I got to say that too, you know.
Understood.
Yeah, he's a piece of crap, man. But yeah, I tried to, I suggested it to him, and the guy looked at me and said, "What do you think this is? A carnival?" Well, yeah, it is a carnival, man. Give me a break.
Yep. Another match that comes to mind, and then I want to segue into a little bit of the resurrection stuff. I remember I think it was WrestleMania, like back in the day. I believe you fought The Undertaker when he was just coming up.
Yeah,
Is that right?
number 7,
Yep.
WrestleMania 7.
Bang. Yep. I think you DDT'd him outside the ring. I couldn't believe it.
Yeah, no, I DDT'd him twice in the ring. Then he gave me the
Tombstone.
tombstone
That's
on the
it.
floor. Yeah,
Yeah.
the memory's not completely gone.
That's awesome. You had some of the best charisma I've ever seen. It was so sleek and just like methodical and impressive. I wanted to ask you, a lot of wrestlers have the look, right? But
Right,
maybe they're missing that it factor or the charisma.
right.
Do you think, Jake, you have to be born with charisma, or is it something that it's something that's teachable or transferable?
Charisma you cannot steal.
Mm.
You can't buy it, and you can't learn it.
Ooh.
Either you got it or you don't. Now you can do a lot of things to improve your product that you're putting out there, but unless you have the it factor, man, forget about it.
Yeah, that's awesome. It's interesting. Do you still keep up with everything that's going on in WWE at all? I know you're affiliated with AEW.
No,
No,
oh, I'm sorry about this phone. I've tried to get it quiet
that's
once.
okay. No big deal.
Shove it up my ass there.
Jake, I want to touch on some of the stuff right when when you started living with DDP and that stuff, because
Yeah,
I want the audience, everybody is going through something in one capacity or another.
yeah,
And your transformation is so inspiring,
yeah,
right? Because let's
yeah,
just quote what it is. You were in a darker place than most. When you went to go see DDP, it's very well documented. I think you even said that you were begging to die. Is that accurate?
yeah, yeah.
How dark did it get?
Well, I tried to commit suicide a couple of times by eating pills. Then I tried to OD by doing too much coke, and that didn't even work. Um, but the last 6 months that I was in Texas, I'd broken all the mirrors or moved the mirrors out of the house because I couldn't stand to look at myself.
Hmm.
I wouldn't go shopping unless it was 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. I didn't want people to see me. And basically every dime that came in my pocket went for drugs. I didn't care if I ate, didn't give a shit. And people would call me and try to get in contact with me. I just ignore them. My kids would try to contact me. I would ignore that too. I didn't want them to hear my voice because they would be able to tell that I was high. Um, I remember praying to God, man, please kill me. Please let me die somehow. I would hear of some other wrestler dying and I would get so angry at God. Why did you take him? Why didn't you take me? I want to go, you know? And when DDP came and saw me, it was just a flash of something hit my brain and said, maybe. And then after he left, I'm like, maybe my ass. There's no way in the hell I can do what he's asking. Because he told me no drugs, no alcohol. Brother, I was doing an 8 ball a day, every day.
Crazy.
And had been doing that for 10, 15 years, plus the alcohol. Sometimes it wasn't just an 8 ball. Sometimes it was a half an ounce by myself, you know. Um, he told me to come out and I went out there and I thought, well, I'm going to last maybe a week, before I have to go get high. But for some reason I don't understand, maybe it's just God reaching out and touching me and said, yeah, let's give him a chance or something. A week turned into 2 weeks, 2 weeks into a month. It was about 3 months before I messed up the first time. And I went across the street, down the street, and had 3 shots. And I remember getting back to the house and I could not wait to tell DDP what I did. It's crazy. Why do
Wow.
you don't tell him on yourself?
Yeah.
It's because I felt so bad that I'd screwed him over.
Yeah.
See, I didn't mind screwing myself, but I'm not going to screw you up.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
And he sat me down and talked to me about it and said, okay, you don't leave the house without having somebody with you from now on. Okay. And I'm like, is that it? Because I figured he's going to kick me out.
Yeah.
He's like, that's it. And it was probably 6 months, maybe even 9 months before I screwed up again. I wound up screwing up 3 times, maybe 4. I can't remember exactly. Before I finally was able to kick it.
Yep.
But it took 2 years before I was safe. When I first moved in the house, the first thing I'd done was give up my driver's license. Please take this away from me because if I can drive, I can find dope.
Hmm.
And I just didn't want it anymore, man. I screwed up my life so bad that I didn't figure there was any way back up for me.
Mm-hmm.
And for my buddy to tell me, he made me so many promises, man. Such as if you'll hold on to this and get sober, I promise you'll go into the Hall of Fame. That meant something to me. Not for
Sure.
me, but for my grandkids.
Sure. Legacy.
I want them to be able to be proud of me because I didn't have pride for myself, you see.
Yep.
But I could do something or get something given to me and I could show my grandkids. So that was cool.
Hell yeah.
And he told me that if I do this or that this would happen and this would happen. Now you got to remember, this guy brought me into his home and he's paying my whole way. He's paying my bills, man.
Yeah.
Several $1,000s each month. He paid everything. Fed me the finest food there is on the planet, man. He got me healthy again. When I first came out of that rehab, I was the healthiest I've been in 25 years.
Wow.
I could run, I could jump, I could roll, I could do whatever I wanted to do, man. And that was part of the promises he made me. But the thing that made it work was the fact that he did not give up on me, even when I screwed up. See, that's what happens. Here's what happens to people who go to rehab. My theory, anyway.
Sure.
You go into a rehab, you're there for 90 days.
Mm-hmm.
At the end of the 90 days, they pat you on the back, they give you a piece of paper that says you graduated, and they push you out into the real world. And when you get to the real world, you realize that you got a whole lot of people wanting money from you. You haven't paid your rent in 3 months. You haven't paid your car payment in 3 months. Your ex-wife wants her money. And you got all these people begging for money, tearing at you, pulling on you, calling you in, day out. And finally, it gets to the point that you can't take it anymore. What do? You go use again, man.
Yep.
Because that's the only thing that quietens down the noise. And that's all you're wanting.
It's a cycle. Yep.
Yeah, it's a vicious fucking cycle, man.
Yeah.
That's what happens, though. And then what does the person do? He winds up going back and getting high the first time. Now he's right back at it, man.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you something. When you go to a rehab and you come out, you're not doing the same amount of shit that you were doing before. It's doubled now.
Really?
Oh, yeah. It's like you got to make up for lost time.
Wow.
And it's a horrible cycle to go through, man. But I think the key to staying sober is honesty.
Yep.
With yourself and with the people that you talk to. Being honest. And love and sharing.
Yeah.
I get so much out of helping somebody. I get letters from little kids thanking me for helping their daddy because now daddy's moved back home.
That's so special.
Man, that makes me want to cry.
I want to pause it right there because Jake, you said that you tried to end your own life several times and were unable to succeed in that. I think it's pretty obvious as to why.
Yeah, God had something else for me to do, man.
You better believe it. You were being qualified. That's why
you do that stuff. He gave me this wrestling platform so I would go out and help those kids that have been abused.
Yep.
Now, I'll tell you, maybe you don't believe it. I don't care if you do or don't. It's not about that. There are times at Comic-Cons that I'll get this weird feeling come over me, and I'll look up and I'll see a kid, and I can feel it. That kid's being abused, and I know it. And I'm like, holy crap, here's another one. And just by talking to him just a little bit, I can tell for a fact, man, that kid is being abused. Then I look at whoever they're with and I'm like, are you the motherfucker doing this shit,
Yeah.
Ugh, makes me sick.
But first of all, I want to personally thank you because of all the stuff that you went through, although obviously not fun at the time, you're being qualified. So now when you speak to kids and when you help people, you're very credible because you went through it and it's very well documented and you got to the other side. And now you're making so much bigger of an impact than you ever could.
Absolutely.
By just being a wrestler.
I'm a bigger star now than I've ever been.
I agree with that.
And just simply for speaking the truth, man. And that's what I want to continue doing. I keep thinking that sooner or later somebody's going to say, hey, Jake, let's go on a speaking tour someplace and we'll just go out and I'll just talk for a couple hours in each city. I don't care how many cities there are.
Yep.
I just want to help people, man. I want to help these kids that are struggling. And I want to help parents that are struggling too, because they don't understand what's going on with the kid that's using drugs.
Yep.
Well, I can help them because I know what it's about. I've felt it. I've done it. I've ate the shit. I've smoked the shit. I've done it all, man.
Yep.
So let's talk about getting these kids healthy, man.
That's it. And you're helping people right now that are tuning into this, a few million now. And I wanted to ask you this because this word gets thrown around a lot. But how important do you think hope is, Jake?
Hope is the most important thing you have. You
Yeah.
know, I lost hope. There were several years that I had no hope left, man. I was so burnt up. I simply just waited like a dog on the porch for drugs to get there. You know, think about what else could I sell so I could go buy some more crap. You know, and I sold everything I had. I threw away a career. I threw away a marriage. Man, do you know what's really cool?
Tell me.
They tell you in rehab or AA that if you'll do the program, that at some point you'll start being gifted. It's like bullshit. Come on, man. I'm not some punk ass kid. Don't tell me I'm gonna start being gifted. The fuck, Santa Claus gonna come down my chimney? What? You know? You know why Santa Claus didn't have any kids?
Why?
He only usually came down a chimney, but only did it once a year. What the hell? You don't knock anybody up doing it that way. Anyway, sorry about that.
All good.
But what was I saying? I got lost there for a
About
second.
hope. Hope.
About hope. If what? Oh, if you do the work, you
Yeah.
start being gifted. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it was absolutely the truth. I mean, once I got clean and sober, a year afterward, I get invited to the Hall of Fame.
Not a coincidence.
Not a coincidence, brother. They were waiting for me to get clean and sober.
Of course they were.
They told me that. Holy shit.
What was that moment like for you?
Breathtaking. I don't remember anything.
Really?
Of course, they do it this new way now where they give you a couple of writers to write your acceptance speech. So I had those guys, and they were like, okay, you talk about this, and we're going to put this up on the Tron. Then you talk about this, we're going to put this up on the Tron. I'm like, okay. You got it? Got it. And then I took the piece of paper, wadded it up, and threw it over my shoulder. I just went out and did my shit, man,
Yeah.
and stole the show.
Of course you did. You always
But I
did.
don't even remember. I don't remember a word that I said. The only thing I remember is holding my grandson up,
Oh,
and you need to pray for him because he's about to have spinal surgery,
I will.
and he's going to be down for a long time.
But he's got you.
He's got parents that really are good too, man.
Yeah.
You know, maybe because I was so screwed up that my kids aren't. You know,
Maybe.
most of them got their shit together.
Yeah. Hell yeah. Jake, what would you want to tell someone right now that was at rock bottom thinking that they're
Yeah.
stuck and they don't want to live anymore? What would you
Right.
say to them to give them some hope?
Just for a moment, close your eyes and breathe. Breathe through your nose. There's life there. And in that life, there's a piece for you. Just keep breathing. As long as you're breathing, you'll get there. Never, ever give up.
All right. That was awesome. That was beautiful.
That was off the cuff.
That was honestly tremendous. That's where we dropped the mic. But I want to ask you a question or two more on wrestling. But that was
All right.
awesome. It's so beautiful. And I think that is going to be the biggest takeaway for the audience because a lot of people going through some stuff and a lot
Yeah,
of people
man.
don't talk about it.
Man, all these people out there, contact me, man. Contact me. Get a hold of me on my on this
And we're gonna
computer shit.
we're gonna put all your information in the show notes for sure.
Instagram, all that stuff, man. I'm available.
Hell yeah.
I'm not hiding somewhere in some cave.
I
I'm
love that word
available to
too.
you people. That's how, you know why? Because you're worth something to me. All you people out there struggling, you're worth something to me, man.
Yeah. Beautiful.
All right, what's your other question?
Where'd you come up with the DDT finishing maneuver?
It was an accident. I had a front face lock on the guy, and I was wrenching his neck, and he went to push me backwards. And when we did, we fell. And when we fell, his head went into the mat with a solid thump. And I heard the people just like, oh my God. And I'm like, oh, I found something. And it was an accident.
That's awesome.
And I just started working on it and changing a few things here and there and then just going for it.
That's awesome. Aside from you, of course, who do you think are the 2 to 3 greatest wrestling superstars ever?
Who?
Yeah. Aside from you.
Well,
And that's a loaded question, right? Because superstar can mean charisma, in the ring
yeah,
ability.
man.
Just
You
the
gotta have
total
Dusty.
package.
You gotta have Dusty Rhodes in there.
Dusty.
You gotta have Andre. And possibly Undertaker.
So consistent, that guy.
You know, and but it's such an unfair question because wrestling's changed so much.
Yeah.
It's a different thing they do today. It's a different thing they did in the 70s and 80s, you know. The 70s and 80s, they belonged to Dusty. Andre, he he took it for him whenever era he wanted to go. It didn't matter. He's so
Yeah.
freaking big. He's gonna do his shit wherever. And Undertaker, of course, to time of present.
Yeah.
But you got to look back at those guys that really did it. You know, the Jack Briscoes, the Harley Races, and those cats too, man.
Yeah.
Because they go out and bust that ass for an hour, man. And they were tearing that ass up too. Terry Funk.
Yeah.
You know, those are my guys.
Yeah. Hell yeah. This is awesome. I know that back in the day, I mean, maybe you weren't the best version of yourself. You had some falling outs. And one thing that you're big on today is making amends, right? In all areas.
Oh, you got to.
Yeah. You tell a good story also.
In all walks of your life, you got to make your amends, man.
I heard a great story that you told. We don't have to get into today, maybe for the sequel, but about the Warrior.
Yeah.
But just always making amends and just letting it go, right?
Yeah, he's the one that made that amend. You know, it blew me away because I was going to pick a fight with him that night.
Yeah,
because he cost me literally $3 million.
Yeah.
Oh well.
Yeah.
Well, buddy, we about done with this.
Yeah. Final question for the audience.
All right.
Your one thing that you said that really struck a chord with me, and I loved it, is you're just not available for bullshit these days, right?
Right.
What do you mean by that?
If you're trying to contact me, don't be contacting me because you just want to talk to me about being a great fan. I want to spend my time helping people. If you're hurting or you're in trouble, contact me. But if you're just here to blow whistles and let some balloons go, wait till I run into you and we'll do it together.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah, man.
You're such a legend. Hang up for 1 second, Jake. I just want to connect with you after, but I just want to let you know you are the definition of perspective, reinvention, humility, and growth. From taking your life experiences to spreading positivity, light, and deep truths. You're a true gladiator, role model, and beacon of hope for anybody coming up today with big goals and aspirations. I could personally guarantee your best yet to come. Keep on spreading your wings and changing lives. So much love and respect for you. Thank you so much for stopping by and dropping these priceless nuggets today, Jake.
Well, you got a lot of shit going on yourself, man. I got that most respect for what you've been through.
Thank you, brother.
Thank you, brother. Peace on you.